Microphone on. Hey, welcome to Level 3 Focus. My name is Ultra David. I hope you enjoyed the last show with James Chen, going over just basic execution stuff on first attack, as he'll do. I think you have plans to do that again in the future. But I go over a little bit more higher level stuff, whether you're a high level player yourself or you just like watching it, like following it, that kind of thing. I'm going to be talking about all sorts of stuff that's a little bit more advanced. And today, I'm going to talk about a really interesting advanced thing, at least that I think is interesting. A lot of people, including James, and a lot of other, even top players, get annoyed by, and that is Morrigan in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. If you've been watching tournaments over the last few weeks, a couple months even, you've seen that, especially on the East Coast, people have really started to adopt Morrigan in terms of keepaway and space control and using fireballs, projectiles. It looks super annoying, and it is super annoying to play against. And the reason I want to talk about it is because I find it really, really interesting. So there are, several different ways that you can play in fighting games. Just break it down generally into like offense or defense. That's just kind of the most general way. But even within those, there are different ways to play. So you can play offensively by rushing down. Oh, you switched over a little bit there. Oh, nice. Are we playing a game now?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay,
Which one is this?
I'm trying to save it. This is the first one here.
Okay. Yeah, that's currently on screen. That's cool. As we said, we had some codec issues. For some reason, the Apple wouldn't play AVI, and I don't understand why that's about. But anyway, we're getting VLC, so it should be cool. So with the various styles you can play a kind of an offensive zoning game. You can play rush down. You can be right in their face. You can play grappler style of offense. Or for defense, you can do things like keep away, run away. You can do keep away and zoning with normals or with projectiles. There's just a ton of different ways that you can go about doing this. And that's one of the things that I think is really cool about fighting games, actually, is how varied the strategy is. Each character has its own set of strategies that are possible with it, and then each individual player can do his or her own things with those tools and kind of build, their own individual strategies. It's just very, very different, and you see different things all the time. And I think that's awesome. That's one of my favorite things. I'm going over projectile-based keep away today, even though I did it already. I went over Dominion versus Art in the very first episode of this show, and the reason that I'm doing it again is because I feel like it doesn't get respect as like a legitimate style of play.
Took you out again.
Nice.
Sorry.
That's all right. Whatever. It's cool. It's a legit style of play, and even though it can be annoying, it's a strategically viable and good way to play, and it's effective, and it can win tournaments, and that's ultimately what we're going for. We're trying to win. With whatever tools we have, with whatever characters we have, with whatever style of play that we favor. And some players can do any kind of style, but most people have a way that they want to play. Most people have this kind of set idea of what they should be doing in a fighting game. They want to be in your face, or they want to be far away from you. And you have people like Dominion, who I said we went over before, and we're going to go over again today. He wants to play away. He wants to play this zoning game or this keep away kind of game. But there are other people like Combo Fiend who really want to get in there, and they'll just find characters that allow them to get in your face and make you guess, and that's where he wants to be. Some people like Justin Wong can kind of play the two. If you saw Justin in Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and Third Strike, where he had this super lame style, versus how he plays in Street Fighter 4 with Rufus, and in Marvel vs. Capcom 3 with teams like Iron Fist or Wolvie Akuma, that kind of thing. He just has this really varied style, but that's rare. Most of the people want to do a certain thing, and one of those things is play keep away. And I feel like this kind of like personal style comes out more in fighting games than it does in most other strategy games. Most strategy games have either it's just the same team or the same character or whatever you want to call it, like in chess. And there are of course very, very different ways to play chess, but you don't have a set character that like caters in a certain way to defense or offense. even with something like StarCraft that has 3 distinct races, you can play, and they have more defensive or offensive characteristics, but it's not quite as stark as it is in a fighting game. The difference between Dalsum and Seth in Street Fighter 4 is just gigantic, and it's obvious. So can we go over to the first game, the first video rather? Cool. And just let it play. Just let it rock. This is Chris G versus Marlin Pie, which happened a little while back at Curly Mustache. This is the grand finals. It's on, right? Okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure. Yeah, there you go. Awesome. And you can kind of see, this is just to get kind of a basic idea of what I'm going to be talking about today. Try to pay attention to when Chris G throws fireballs and what Marlin Pie is trying to do to get around it. Again, it's not easy. This is not a mindless strategy. Don't just think that, he's putting stuff on screen and seeing what happens, and it's just, okay, I'll do some stuff because it's good and maybe it'll work out. It's not like that at all. He's specifically throwing these projectiles at angles that he knows are difficult for Marlin Pie to get around, and at timings that he knows, or expects rather, that Marlin Pie will have difficulty getting around. He's got this team built to support Morrigan. He's got Morrigan with Doom missiles in the back, which are super annoying. They take up a ton of space. They're kind of a combo breaker if something bad happens. They can keep pressure on if Morrigan is doing her thing. He has Akuma as well, who's just a good character in secondary, as you're seeing right now. But in addition to that, if the opponent ever gets close to him, he can push the opponent back. Or if he gets close to the opponent, he can actually use it to make his own offense with Morrigan if he needs to do that. Just check this out. And on the other side, look at Marlin Pie's team. He has Viper, Doom, Amy. And this is a strong team in a lot of matchups, but in this matchup, it's not that great. So Viper has a tough time getting around all these Morrigan fireballs. She has mobility in the air, but it's not really like the kind of mobility that like a Magneto can have. It's a little bit less mobile than that. She generally wants to be in your face. That's where the best things happen for her, but she has to get in against Morrigan, and she doesn't have the best tools to do it. She doesn't have that much life either. So in trying to get around these fireballs, she's just going to take a ton of damage, and you can see it's just kind of melting away. Even just when she takes chip damage even, it's just, wow, that looks really frustrating to get around. And it is, and it's purposely frustrating because that's Chris's strategy. So if you recall a couple weeks ago, we talked about kind of like the 4 essential parts of a fighting game player's approach to the game, and that's strategy and tactics and mix-ups and execution. So think about the strategy that Chris G is using right now. He's trying to take up as much space on screen as possible, and he's trying to do it in a way that will either chip or hit the opponent until the opponent is dead. I mean, look at that. He's using his meter specifically to chip and just put as much crap on screen as he possibly can, because he knows that when there's all that crap on screen, the opponent doesn't have very good options, and that's going to allow him to take the game. Think about his tactics too. He's got fireballs, yeah, but he also has dashes, and he has normals, and maybe more importantly, he has not fireballs, which we're going to talk about as well. Knowing when to throw a fireball and when not to throw a fireball, those are just as important. Throwing a fireball at a bad time can be really bad for you, and it can completely give up whatever the strategy you were trying for was. So you have to know your mix-ups too. It's not just like he's throwing out fireballs willy-nilly. He's throwing them out at certain times, and if you notice when he's doing it and when he's not, in the last game that they played, the one that Chris just won, there was a moment towards the end of Viper's life where she got frustrated, and so she does EX Thunder Knuckle all the way across the screen because she can get through projectiles with that. But that's kind of a frustration thing, and Chris actually expected it. He knew not to throw a fireball right then. What he did actually was just a normal jump, and he punished on the other side. So he read this mix-up, what was going on. The mix-up each time you throw a fireball is, I'm going to be controlling this space in expectation of the fact that you're going to be wherever I'm throwing the fireball. Right? Like whatever the space is, that's what I expect to be controlling. So on the other side of it, to not throw a fireball, there's a little mix-up in there. Like, I think you're going to do something that would get around a fireball if I put a fireball in this particular spot. And so I'm not going to do it. And that's exactly what Chris did at the end of the last round. Yeah, let's just go back. Sure. Ah, there it is. Perfect timing. So actually, just go back a little bit more. Right, okay, so... Yeah, Viper's going to come back in at some point here. I don't know. I forget if Doom dies first or not. But Doom has kind of a similar... Okay, yeah, he just tags in because Doom was about to die. So Viper's down on life. You see this normal jump he just did? Like right there?
It looks like a fly cancel, actually, that he just went into the air.
Right, yeah, he just goes in the air, like right over her. Oh, it's too long to be super precise about it. And again, we had to go to VLC today because for some reason QuickTime wasn't playing, and our QuickTime is the little thing that we use to get individual frames. So after Doom dies, just pay attention to when Viper comes in and when Chris G stops throwing fireballs. Just expecting. Yeah, you see him? You see him right now? Watch. Okay. Perfect timing. So he got over it just at the exact right spot. And again, that's a mix-up. So when you're playing a zoning keep-away character, there's this kind of wheel of options that you have to go through, because most characters have some way through fireballs or around fireballs, or maybe they just get lucky. But you have to always be thinking about those options, and you have options that will deal with them, of course, because you're a zoner. But you have to press the right buttons at the right times, and that's a mix-up. There's also execution, and in watching Morrigan, don't just feel like she's throwing a fireball. That's not it. What she has to do is fireball, fly, fireball, and it turns out to be quarter circle forward, quarter circle back, quarter circle forward. And if you watch how many times he's throwing a fireball right here, he must do a quarter circle motion 100 times. I mean, I don't know, maybe more than that. Like, just he's constantly doing it. Each one of those is a quarter circle, not once, but twice. He's constantly unflying. Yeah, he's unflying at the end of it, exactly. And so he actually has quite a bit of execution involved here. It's not just a fireball, it's a fireball, fly, fireball, unfly. It's pretty impressive stuff in terms of execution for zoning. All the while, he's calling Doom at the right time, he's calling Akuma at the right time, and so his hands are actually pretty busy. Let's talk a little bit about how Chris plays when Viper's out, when Doom is out, and when Amy is out. So Viper managed to get in this time, and she needed to do her job of killing off Morrigan. She didn't quite get it, and I forget if that's going to end up costing her. I think she dies. Oh, yeah, Doom comes in. So with Doom is a fairly mobile character too. I mean, he's become more mobile as the game has evolved. But he's big. He doesn't have anything like EX Thunder Knuckle to get through stuff. And it's even though he has his projectiles of his own, they're not really effective in the same way as Morrigan's are at controlling space and zoning. So Chris G is just going to be doing kind of the same thing that he was with Viper, which is just here are my fireballs and here's my Doom missiles, and you're pretty much just going to eat them. And I'm expecting that, again, I have to throw fireballs at a certain time and not at other times and that kind of thing. It's not brainless, but he can do it. He can throw fireballs a lot. When Amy comes in, you're going to see that he has to change things up. Amy has some ways to deal with Morrigan. She has projectile counter specifically. She has Okami shuffle, which hits the whole screen pretty quickly. And so she has a couple of things. She's a fairly small character. She can get through stuff. And in X Factor, she doesn't really have to worry about chip anyway. So you see, she ducks under a lot of things. And so you see how Chris is playing immediately. More offense. He can't do the same kind of just I'm far away while Morrigan's dead, but you get the point. He can't do the same kind of far away, keep away kind of game against this character, and so he's playing a matchup. He doesn't have a broken character at all. All he has is a character that has some good matchups and some matchups where it has to play differently. And this is one of those matchups. And this is kind of the saving character on Marlon's team, as you can see. Did pretty well against Morrigan. Akuma's already dead. Doom coming in, losing a ton of red life. And I think Marlon ends up taking this game. I think he does, right? Yeah. Oh, okay. Maybe not, actually. Maybe I was thinking of a different game. It looks like it. Okay, boom, boom. All right, you're dead. But, again, you could totally see that he was playing differently. So whatever. That's it for this. I don't want to go through the whole thing. In the end, well, I don't know if I want to spoil it. Even you can go watch it on your own. That's the Curly Mustache Grand Finals. It was LB New York Chris G against AG Marlin Pie. And go check it out on YouTube. So, we're going to take a quick break. Just want to let you know what we're going to have after this. I want to talk about players who are not Chris G and Dominion playing Morrigan and how they look, and show you that style is not easy, because then everybody would be doing it successfully. But in fact, there was this really awesome example a little while ago of exactly the opposite. So Ray Ray in tournament plays against Adam SK Must Die, I guess is the name, Adamsk, or Adam, just going to say Adam, I guess. And then he plays against Chris G later in the tournament. Both of these players that he plays against have Morrigan. And it's really interesting to see the different ways that Ray Ray approaches the game, knowing the caliber of player, and the different ways that Adam and Chris G approach it as well, and how effective they are. So again, that's going to be right after the break. I'll see you in a bit. Yep, that's definitely on stream. Okay, well, whatever. Again, just ironing some stuff out. Hope we've been working on getting the technology a little better. Hope you've appreciated the fact that we actually now have like title cards and stuff, and don't have crazy desync between our voice and our faces. So all right, we're getting there, and we'll get there eventually. We're working on it. Anyway, so today on Lv3 Focus, I'm talking about the character Morrigan in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, how she's kind of come onto the scene over the last couple months as a force that's really changed things, especially over on the East Coast. She's been really effective, picked up by Dominion first, by Chris G now, both using it and both doing really well. And she plays this really frustrating to look at and frustrating to play against style of, kind of bullet hell or kind of Boshy style even. Just stuff all over the place, and you have to navigate your way around it.
I'm sorry.
You all right?
I'm completely...
You blew it up?
Yeah, I blew it up.
Whatever, it's cool.
I'll get this back in a second.
All right, whatever's. Nah, it's cool. So we're going to show a couple of videos as soon as we get this ironed out. Again, it's between Ray Ray and Chris G, and then between Ray Ray and Adam SK Must Die. And the reason that we're looking at this is because I feel like people who see Morrigan being played very effectively just kind of assume that she's an easy-to-play character. And that's something that a lot of zoning and keep-away characters get. It's something that people say about something like Old Sagat in Super Turbo. It's something that people say about Guile in Street Fighter 4. It's just something that has always been there. It feels like it should be easy to just put a bunch of stuff on screen and, let it rock. But actually it's not. In fact, some of the most complicated characters in fighting game history have been zoners. Think about Dalsum, whose attributes you have to know like the back of your hand before you can even start to be competitive with him. And I feel like Morrigan is a fairly difficult character to use, and I think that's why, even though she's very effective, I think that's why only a couple of top-level players have picked her up so far. And it's mostly been on the East Coast. We said last week when we were talking about, or a couple weeks ago when we were talking about tiers, that tiers are heavily influenced by local players. And the East Coast has always kind of had this relatively lame keep-away, a runaway even style. Whereas in California, especially SoCal, we've had this very offensive style. And so you see that reflected even today in which characters show up in SoCal weeklies like Wednesday Night Fights, and in New York weeklies like The Big Two, which, by the way, is where this is from. This footage is from The Big Two. Shout out to Spooky for being nice about letting us use footage whenever we want. Very, very nice. So can you play? Actually, it's Ray Ray versus Chris first.
Oh, you want to do Ray Ray?
Yeah, let's go to Ray Ray versus Chris first. Just because I want people to see how Ray Ray plays against a top-level Morrigan player first. And then we'll show what the differences are between that and him playing against somebody else. So already his Sentinel has been blown up. And okay, let's start back again. Let's go to the start. Right to the very, very start. Okay. So if you notice the team that we're working with for Chris, again, Morrigan, Akuma, Dr. Doom is going to stick with the same thing. And on the other side, it's Ray with Ryu, Magneto, and Sentinel. So Ryu has a few things to say about Morrigan, right? He has a horizontal fireball, both in the air and on the ground, which is nice. It's a relatively rare thing. He's not super mobile, but once he gets in, he can kill her. Magneto, very, very mobile character. Sentinel, he's got a huge hitbox, but pretty mobile character, and he has drones that help out both Ryu and Magneto in terms of sucking up fireballs, and he has hard drive when he's in the air. So he's got some things to say as well. This is definitely not as bad as the Viper match. But you see immediately Chris is coming in to Astral Vision to get those double fireballs. He's immediately calling Doom missiles, and you see Ray with kind of a poor timing on Sentinel drones. He wants Sentinel back there to eat up fireballs and missiles. Didn't really work out that time, but you notice his approach. It's cautious. He's trying to pick his spots. He knows that he has this super projectile that he can do stuff with. But Chris G has really, really zoned him out well this whole time. I mean, he's been across the screen. His Sentinel's all the way down like that. Gonna cancel that. You see that fireball cancel into unfly just like that. So you can't block when you're flying, but you can block when you're not flying, and you can unfly is what it's called, and that's what he did, and he blocked immediately. So perfectly done by Chris G right there, kind of nullifying what Ryu has to say in this matchup just like that. Magneto, kind of low life. That's his problem in this match, but he's fairly mobile, but still Chris G with awesome zoning. And you see he comes up there. He does not want to be below Ryu. He doesn't want to risk that anything will come at him from the top where Morrigan doesn't have anything, especially in between Doom missiles, which is where that happened. Now you got Sentinel coming in. Again, huge hitbox on him. He does have things like hard drive and his projectiles of his own, Hyper Sentinel Force included. And there's the Hyper Sentinel Force just to see if you can try to get through. But Chris G's smart, staying on top of it. X Factor's on reaction to getting the hit, and at no point in that whole round did Ray ever get in or really even threaten that much. I mean, there were a couple times when, for example, when Ryu was up top against Chris, and Chris got up there to be like, all right, I'm going to press my big ol' extremely huge hitbox H. You're not going to do anything about this. And that's what happened. And again, starting off, Ray just looking shot in the dark, trying to see if he could hit with his own super, trying to control space on top. Chris G knowing not to go up to the top when that fireball was up there. And now you got Chris in his face, but look at the defense that Ray is in his face, but look at the defense that Chris had in that moment. He called Akuma at the right time, and he pushed Ray back, and now he's up again at the top of the screen. And even though that hits Doom, and that's what Ray is looking for in that situation, it's not that bad, right? Doom is still he lives to missile another day, and that's exactly what he's doing. You see, Chris is not getting involved in anything mid-screen. He's making sure that his back is to the wall so that there can be no kind of cross-ups. Again, as soon as he sees the opponent is on top of him, he comes up with his H. This time it's a grab. And now he gets to set up his zoning again. Which, okay, that's right. He takes this a little bit more offensively. So again, if you're playing this kind of style, this keep-away style, you do need to have it in your bag of tricks to be like, okay, I'm going to have a hit and run. You're not going to expect it. Having spent all this time on the other side of the screen, you're not going to expect that I'm going to get in your face, and that's exactly what happened with both Magneto and Ryu right there. X Factor to try to make it count. I mean, this is, he recognizes that things have really gone poorly for him, and so he's trying to make whatever he can make happen. Finally, Morrigan is dead, so the rest of this match is whatever. I think, here, let me just make sure that, I think it's 2-0. Oh, no, yeah, it's 3-0, actually. It's 3-0. Yeah, let's go back to when Morrigan starts. There it is. You see Chris. Yeah, Chris G. So sick. So he starts out the same way, right? He's on the other side. He's picking his corner back up. Excellent defense. He, again, calling Akuma just to get the opponent off of him. It was a good job by Ray to not get in that, but that Akuma blew him up, I guess. Nice. Again, just great timing on when to throw fireballs, and Ray just finding it so difficult to get in with any of his characters. He's just throwing a shot. Again, this time it pays off, but it's not very damaging. Morrigan deals that in 2 or 3 Astral Vision fireballs. Is that it for her here? I think she's dead.
Oh, that was so sick.
Yeah. He wanted to make sure he killed the problem, which was smart, but didn't work. It actually didn't work, and now his Ryu's going to die instead. So now we have the cool thing about Chris's team is that he has 3 real characters on it, and that's something you don't always see if you want to maximize one character. Like this is like the Morrigan maximization team. He's got Doom missiles to take up all the space on screen, and he's got Akuma to try to like build the space between the opponent and him if the opponent's close. But Akuma and Doom are still really, really good characters. They're awesome. In fact, Akuma is super good in this game. I don't know if people even understand how good he is because you only see him on assist for the most part, but he's really good. And that's a big strength for him. So he can play all this time with Morrigan, taking up all this space on screen, and then if she dies, oh well, he has Akuma Doom. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. Yeah, whatever. You pretty much get the point. No. Ray Ray's dead. All right. So now, let's see how somebody else does with Morrigan. And I apologize to Adam SK Must Die, especially if you're watching or something. That'd be hilarious. But I don't know. It's useful to see. Oh, what happened here? Okay, we're starting. Yeah. Okay, so let's just let it run through a little bit. Talk about the team that Adam has. It's Trish, Morrigan, Phoenix, which I really don't like. Morrigan is meter hog, as you could see, the way that Chris G was playing, and the way that Dominion plays her when he has her, in X Factor and anchoring his team, is Astral Vision constantly and just fill the screen with stuff. But if you have Phoenix on your team, you kind of don't want to do that. The reason he has her there is so that he can build meter with her meter building assist, but it just is not a great way to use Morrigan. Let's see. There's Morrigan finally in. Okay, so now let's see how he plays. You see, he's already being much, much more mobile. He's dashing around. He's not picking a spot on screen and saying, you have to come at me. I'm going to defend this turf. He's not doing that. He's being, kind of a more offensive style even, and it's just not that effective for Morrigan. You see, when he throws a fireball, it's not necessarily fireball on a fly, fireball unfly. He's not really doing that either. He's not quite there with the execution in terms of the fireballs. Just very different style of Morrigan, as you can see. Doesn't want her in. He wants Phoenix in because she has 5 bars, blah, blah, blah. Everybody knows that. But you could see when she was in. Okay, here she is again. He throws a fireball and then just kind of puts pressure on. And even though it kind of worked on Ryu right there, he's not going to have as easy a time against other characters for the most part. This is not a high damage output character, Morrigan. You can see that combo right there. It was 20% life on Magneto, who has low life. Right? It's not a big deal. He's really not controlling space in any kind of way. I mean, he's playing a more offensive style. He even goes for the OTG super instead of Astral Vision super, which is, as you could see, whenever Chris got a throw and he didn't have Astral on already, he would immediately bring that in there. So Ray has all of his characters alive. The snap is more about trying to kill Phoenix than being so worried about Morrigan and being in there. As I recall, he pretty much takes down Phoenix quickly. Let's see if that's correct. Yeah. It'll happen. I don't know. But, anyway, there it is. You could already see that the Morrigan style is very, very different and not quite as effective. It wasn't as frustrating to watch. Now she has a bar. There's no resistance saving for Phoenix. Let's see whether she gets anything. Going for Chip. Chip on Morrigan. Immediate Astral Vision. Okay, so what are you going to do to control this space? He moves around. Moves around a lot. And, that makes sense to some degree because he has to make a comeback, but he's not playing to the strengths of Morrigan, and Ray has survived until 13 seconds left on the clock, which he didn't get in the previous game. Sentinel has full life, which didn't happen in the previous game, and Ray now trying to run away against Adam. And at this point, all the fireballs in the world are really not going to give her enough damage output, so we'll just play this one out. Yeah, there it is. Ray getting away. Nothing Adam SK can do. First game goes to Ray. You can see that the Morrigan style, the team arrangement, totally different and resulted in different Morrigan play. The style of Morrigan play and the execution in Morrigan wasn't quite the same as with Chris G, and it just didn't work out as well. Let's see. I don't really care about Trish. You gonna kill Trish here? No. Trish. All right, now Morrigan's in.
VLC's really bad at scanning that fast.
Yeah, VLC is not great at that, unfortunately, unlike QuickTime. Yeah. Anyway, so we're back to Adams Morrigan. He picked a spot on screen there for just a little bit, but dashed in, and because he dashed in, his Morrigan got blown up once, then twice. It was his own fault essentially that Morrigan gets picked up. If you're playing a zoning character, you want to make sure that you don't have accidents like that, or just differences in strategy that result in your lack of ability to control space, and instead you're getting knocked. He moved. Let's see. He moved specifically over. There you go. So you see he's in the corner. It looks for a second like he's going to start playing like Chris G, but no, he immediately dashes in, and that's why he got hit. If he had been playing the zoning game with his back to the corner a la Chris, this wouldn't have happened. Morrigan would have lived, or at least for a while. Wouldn't have died right there. And Phoenix maybe wouldn't have come in with 4 bars and been killed immediately, and this whole game lasts like 30 seconds. Yeah, whatever. That was it? Yeah, that's it, yeah. Okay, so anyway, Adam SK does die. I like Trish. I like Trish a lot. I think that she's really good and really underrated. And I've always been surprised that more people don't play her. But, didn't really see that there. I actually did mention hidden missiles, Saurus. Hidden missiles are a big part of teams, and that's why specifically I was talking about the team that Adam SK was playing, because it doesn't have things like do missiles that are super, super good with Morrigan, because they take up space on screen. If the opponent hits Morrigan, they track and blow up the opponent's combo. If the opponent is caught in block stun, missiles come in and do even more chip damage in addition, or they allow her to set up astral vision. It's just an extremely, extremely useful assist for Morrigan, and in addition to that, gives her Doom, who's a really strong character. Dominion has a pretty different way of playing, and that's what we're going to see after a break, just to set it up. Dominion plays, in this video, plays Joe Strange Morrigan, although actually I think in the video that I picked he plays Strange Joe Morrigan. And that's because he's playing against Chris G's Morrigan. So it's the kind of the battle of the two best Morrigans. The reason that he has Morrigan at the back is so that he can, build up meter with his other characters. He has X Factor so that, she deals just a crap ton of chip or hits. If she hits, she basically can kill a character with just Astral Vision fireballs. She gets really super dangerous. And so, like I said, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with Chris G versus Dominion. All right, welcome back to Level 3 Focus. My name is Ultra David. Thanks for joining us on Ultra Chen TV. If you only caught this show and not the show before, James Chen does First Attack, which is for relative beginners and newcomers to fighting games, or people who just want to look at stuff to help their game. If there's some kind of fundamentals that they're missing, you can go check that out. That's at 8 o'clock Pacific time. This is at 9 o'clock, as you can see. And today we're talking about Morrigan and Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. And again, the reason that I want to talk about her is that I feel like she's getting a bum rap. I feel like people think that she's easy to play and not interesting and boring and just kind of full of spam, and that she shouldn't get, legit respect. For me, it's one of the things about this game that I love the most. And I know James makes fun of me for that. Justin Wong makes fun of me for that. If I could play this game, I would absolutely be playing Hagar Morrigan Doom. I feel like Hagar Morrigan Doom is a pretty sick team. But whatever. I love watching Morrigans. And, the two best are Chris G and Dominion. We don't really have a top-level Morrigan out here in California yet, or really outside of New York. It's pretty much just the New York area. It's like I said earlier, it's been a hallmark of New York play since just a long time now, that they're relative keep-away and zoning kind of players. Elsewhere in the country, there's more random play or more offensive play or different kinds of play. But there, because of the players who were good, favoring a keep-away style like A.D. Lee and his various descendants, including Justin, there's been definitely an obvious tick toward defensive play. So let's switch over to the game. Don't press start yet. Let's just go there. Yeah. So this is going to be Chris G on the left versus Dominion. Dominion really started the whole Morrigan trend, at least as far as I could see, living over here on the exact opposite end of the country. It looks like it on stream anyway. He has this team that is usually Joe Strange Morrigan. But today he's going to be switching it up a little bit because he's matched up against Chris G, who's doing Morrigan, Akuma, Doom. So he's trying to make it harder for Chris G to do what he wants to do, which is to fill the screen with fireballs. The way that Dominion goes about doing this is by kind of counterpicking her. So now let's go into this. He picks Strange first, which again is unusual for him. Traditionally, Joe is his point, but he picks Strange for exactly this reason. Boom! He's looking for Fireball and he's looking for Assist Call, and that's exactly what he got right there. He got Doom, which is good. He took off almost half of Doom's life. He didn't get Morrigan, and unfortunately doesn't kill her right there. But he's got another bar, and Morrigan the whole time has to be very cautious. And in fact, look at how she's playing. Let's go back a little bit, right, to after this combo finishes and she gets away. Look at how she starts playing after Dominion's Strange has a bar. Chris G knows that he can't just call an assist whenever he wants to, and he can't just throw a fireball whenever he wants to. So he's not doing that. Strange has bolts which will track like that. He's actually a pretty decent counter pick in this kind of situation, or at least the best that Dominion has on his team, and it works. So his pick made a great deal of sense. In that kind of matchup, Chris G can't play Morrigan the same kind of way that he wants to be playing Morrigan. He wants to, again, be filling the screen with fireballs, and he wants to fill the screen with Doom missiles, and he wants to, press Akuma whenever the opponent is close, or whenever he's close to the opponent. But he really couldn't play that way because of Dr. Strange. And when Strange, when Morrigan went out, Strange went out, because Dominion recognizes, okay, Dr. Strange has filled his role. He's done a good job of doing exactly what I wanted him to do. And now it's time to go back to the team that I am used to having. I want to have I assist for Joe, and there it is. He has I out there to play keep away with Joe and to make it so that the opponent can't really approach from the front. And so his play against the Morrigan team made perfect sense. Ever since then, Chris G has had a tough time of getting back in, and Doom and Akuma can play kind of a keep away game in some matches, but it's not really what they want to do. For the most part, they want to try to get in, or at least try to zone more actively. And Dominion, with Joe and Strange and Morrigan, just has a dedicated keep away team. And you see how frustrating this is. We could easily just spend as much time going over how Joe plays, at least used by Dominion, because he has a very runaway, keep away kind of style with Joe. And it worked out extremely well. So let's see whether Chris G can adapt. It's going to be, that's right. Yeah, he went to, he didn't supposed to. If you win a tournament match, you're obligated to stay with the exact same team order and assists. You can't change anything. So he is going to be running with Strange first. Let's just speed it up a little bit. I forgot about that. Okay. So again, Chris G, let's see whether he gets any adaptation here against Dominion. You see, the way that he's throwing fireballs is he went up and he blocked for a while. He just went up and he blocked. And he ended up throwing fireballs, but he was being cautious about it. There you see, again, Dr. Strange. Let's go back. Strange actually throws a super right here. But unfortunately, it's not an invincible super. And so he was trying for it. Chris G just has... He knew that he had a fireball right there. He knew that he had missiles backing him up. He's waiting for teleports now. And now that Strange doesn't have a bar, he's just going to try to get in there. Like you see, you can see he doesn't want to let Strange get a bar again. He wants to play that offensive style like he did with Amy, if you recall. He wants to make sure that he kills the character that was the most frustrating to Morrigan in the first game. That's pretty much why Morrigan died, was Strange. And yeah, let's just whatever. I just mostly want to look at this. Well, I don't know. I guess I'll just let it run. But I mostly want to look at this because it's interesting to see how Dominion plays against the character that he basically made in Morrigan. And he has identified one of her weaknesses, which is that Spell of Ashani super going up all the way to the top of the screen and coming up pretty quickly after the super freeze is really good for blowing up somebody like Morrigan, who just wants to be throwing fireballs, and for blowing up the assist calls. Worked in the first game. It didn't work in the second. And Morrigan didn't let it work. In addition to that, it's not like she just, ran away and was like, okay, I'm just going to hope that it works out for me. No, she went in and she made sure to try to kill Dr. Strange. But now we got Chris G with Morrigan Train against Dominion running Morrigan. Let's see, I forget who's who. Oh yeah, okay. So Dominion on the left. That's cool. And so you can see that now that there's Doom Missiles Morrigan against Morrigan with just Shocking Pink, it's obvious that Doom Missiles Morrigan is more effective. She's just controlling a lot more of the screen. It's harder for Dominion's Morrigan to throw fireballs because of the threat of missiles being out there. And you see he's just blocking because he knows missiles are coming. And so he's going to tag back into Joe. Maybe Morrigan will get more health, and maybe he'll use her for X Factor so that he doesn't have to worry about things like missiles quite as much. But that team combination that Chris has is really good at maximizing whatever it is that Morrigan wants to do. You know, you saw in Adam SK's that Morrigan on that team didn't really make as much sense. Morrigan on Dominion's team makes sense a lot of the time, but in this kind of case where it's up against Doom Missiles, oh man, yeah, that's right. So she has to pop X Factor. And smartly, Chris G doing the same thing because he knows that now Dominion's not going to take any chip damage. So he's just going to do the same thing. He knows there's not much time left on the clock, so he can't. If he doesn't take any chip damage from X Factor level 3 Morrigan, then that's great. He has a better chance of surviving the round. Pretty smart play. She's down. Now it's just Joe left. And, you know, we've definitely seen Dominion make some comebacks with Joe, but at this point, it's literally impossible to make a comeback. Once there's a certain period of time on the clock, you literally cannot kill the opponent fast enough and have the next character come in. So, literally not a possibility. But, so, anyway, you saw how the counter-pick worked out in that case against Morrigan. Chris G had to be much more cautious with his fireball throwing. And, yeah, just goes for X Factor. I think he pops X Factor, too, and tries to kill her. And that's smart because he's identified the major issue on Chris G's team. Morrigan basically beat his team. Well, I shouldn't say that. Morrigan Akuma Doom is what beat his team. Now that he doesn't have to deal with that Morrigan, he's going to go back to Beautiful Joe Doctor Strange, which is the team he normally plays, and pretty much just run things from here. Anyway, I don't know. I guess I'll just let that run out while I talk about the rest of stuff. But I think you pretty much get the point. I don't know, whatever. So Morrigan is a harder character to play than you might think. She takes a lot of strategy, and she takes, again, a lot of kind of constant mix-ups in terms of when to throw a fireball, when not to, when to rush in. You have to, there's a lot of stuff related to matchups that you have to know to throw fireballs or not to throw fireballs, or to call assists or not to call assists, and all that stuff really comes into play and makes her more complicated to use than she gets credit for, at least on like YouTube comments and the like. And it's not just YouTube comments. In talking with a lot of top players, they really don't like it. They don't like watching it, and they think it's weird that I would like it. But like I was saying earlier, the thing that I like the most about fighting game strategy is that it's so varied. So when I used to play, it was with Zangief Dalsum, and in Super Turbo, it was with E Honda. And the reason that I picked those characters was that they're extremely varied. Honda has to play totally differently in some matchups compared to others. It's not the same thing at all. Sometimes he's down back playing defense. Sometimes he has to be on the offense. Sometimes he even wants to zone or grapple or whatever. It's just completely dependent on the matchup. And I thought that was cool. And kind of the same thing with playing Zangief Dalsum. They cover different matchups really well. You have to play a very different play style. That's awesome to me. And I feel that it really adds to the depth of fighting game strategy that there are all those differences in what you can do. I think that it makes fighting games really distinct as a genre in strategy games. And so I don't want to see people rip on defensive play. Because it's one thing that fighting games have that I don't really think other games have, at least to this degree. Of course, every strategy game has defense and offense, but it doesn't show up quite as starkly as it does in, for example, Ultimate Marvel 3 Morrigan Doom or X Factor Level 3 Morrigan. It's much more obvious, and that's really cool to me. So anyway, I guess, you're not going to give her any credit, Nigel? That's awesome. Oh, well. Anyway, so thanks for tuning in to Level 3 Focus. I think I'm pretty much going to end it. But definitely shout-outs to Dominion, to Chris G. I saw Dominion tweet about Ultra Chen TV earlier. If you're watching this, let me know if I said everything was totally wrong and just completely was talking out of my ass. Very possible. That'd be really funny.
Also,
You're an idiot.
Also, quick shout out to Dymanian, of course, for his recent signing with Broken Tier. So
Yeah.
that's very cool. That's very cool.
And I think it's really cool of Broken Tier to recognize Dymanian, not just because he's a top player, but because he also has a unique style. So now they have Clockwork and Yipes and Dymanian, and each of those players has a unique gameplay style in addition to unique personalities. I think that's pretty sick. Anyway, so thanks for watching Ultra Chen TV tonight. Again, we had First Attack at 8 o'clock our time, Pacific time, and 9 o'clock was this show, Level 3 Focus. Catch us tomorrow at 8 o'clock again, Pacific time. We're going to be doing our kind of unnamed Tuesday show. I don't know, whatever we decide to call that thing on the spur of the moment, and whoever's graphics we decide to use on the spur of the moment as well. I don't know. We'll be there after Wake Up SRK, which starts at 6:30 Pacific time. And then after us is Cross Counter Live, which is at 9 o'clock Pacific time. And yes, we're definitely in the same place. This is James's house. Follow us on Twitter at UltraChenTV. You can follow me on Twitter at UltraDavid and James on Twitter at jchensor. Please check out our Facebook page and our YouTube page, both /UltraChenTV. And that's going to be all for tonight. We'll see you tomorrow.